Hello, my name is Belen, and I will be doing a breakdown on the smartest kids in the world. The first half of chapter 1. My target audience are NCTzens, and NCTzens are either the most educated in terms of actually understand what they are learning about, or the most uneducated people. Especially, you can see that it's very prominent in the fan wars and when it comes to education inequality. And so NCTs is for everybody, so the target audience could be applied to anyone who's an NCTs, but compared to what the authors target audience is actually white women, and NCTs expand to more than just white women who have free time, if that makes any sense. So basically, not the story, but this book kind of starts out in chapter 1, but there's this German guy who's very smart, and his name was actually what was his name again? I keep forgetting. Oh, Schleicher? Or I guess you could just call him Johnny, if it helps you remember. Schleicher equals Johnny. But there's a German guy who was very smart in science because he doesn't represent his season. Basically, he actually understood what he actually really enjoyed the sciences, and as he was encouraged, he actually succeeded a lot, and he won national awards as well. So he was asked by his professor on one day, or I guess you could call him the manager of the team, and told him to work on his research, or another way of saying it is a comeback. Then there comes a pizza test. If it helps you remember, pizza. It stands for the Program for International Student Assessment, but since I know some of y'all won't understand, so think about it. So think about it as how well you can connect the NCT lore, is what this test is about. Instead of asking you to fill in the missing lyrics, or guess the member by the lips, where you are forced to recognize these details, it actually asks you to explain the NCT lore, or kind of in a way to describe why this lore is the way it is, or how to the symbolism is such as is. It requires a lot more critical thinking. Then after the test was taken by every NCTs around the age of 15, or I guess you could say that every student around the world, Finland was the smartest or could have more critical thinking capabilities and connecting lore such as. This was very weird since mostly other fandoms had more knowledge on the lore from other countries, the NCT lore from other countries such as the United States or Korea, since they're the most popular states. But Finland, that's just really random. Think about it as someone saying that the best songs are the top 5 most streamed songs, but then you have this really old basement looking song, and you're just kind of what? It was astonishing since the US ranked above the Greece yet below Canada, which is kind of saying ATNs are superior than NCTs, but also just above armies. It was complex. There's good things in everything, but also what? It just doesn't make any sense. Also, since the US had a huge spending spree on NCT albums, or such as the education system, but it still failed them to value the NCT lore. I guess you could say still failed to value education as well. And the author talked to the German man once again, the Schleicher, or it could be addressed to Johnny once again. And Johnny was like, "This test is like no other. This lore exam requires critical thinking, And the first half of the chapter really, and honestly, the first half of the chapter really explains to us how tests are measured through what you already know rather than critically thinking, just such as what I previously mentioned with connecting, being able to connect and analyze and figure out the symbolisms, the rhetoric, and more specifically the NCT lore. The most memorable part of this book in the first half of the chapter was the following quote: "Without data, you are just another person with an opinion." Just kind of the way of fan wars, oh god, nobody cares what you're fighting about, bro. And with this chapter requires a lot of thinking, since the author is making you question what is a good education system, or what is a good way of, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just something around this line. And as we progress in the story, I really ask you to ponder the following: how should we be able to determine an internationally good education system? And with that, I leave as it is.